everybody, and welcome to Thoth Thursday. I've been studying a lot with the Thoth deck in a way that it could come across as very complicated, and for the people that watch my Thoth series, they're probably thinking, I just want to read my cards. And although I am a researcher and a studier and basically an all-around tarot nerd, those are the topics that I like. So for today's video, I decided to do something a little different. There's still going to be some study and research involved, but I thought that what we would do today is, in the back of the Book of Thoth and Understanding the Thoth Tarot by Lon Milo Duquette, which I'll leave both in the description in case you haven't picked these up yet, there are chapters called Method of Divination and the Meanings of the Cards. Now, in Crowley's case in the Book of Thoth, he goes through like a couple of spreads, I guess you could call them. They're not really spreads. They're ways to read the cards, ways to interpret a reading. And I found that fascinating. These particular methods aren't how I read cards, but I thought to mash my love of study and research with let's just play with the cards instead of like let's not actually look at the cards and, learn something really specific. Like my last video was all about color, and I really dived into that, and I still probably don't have a real good grasp. So I thought, instead of learning something really specific, let's just have fun today. Let's read up on what Crowley thinks is involved in a reading. Now, remember, when Crowley was doing this is like early 20th century when he was doing this. So a lot has changed in the tarot world, tarot community, tarot readers, I feel like. And so I wanted to take the cards. I got a reading cloth out, and let's just see if we can do a reading that Crowley has put in his book. And we'll see if we can get it to make sense. Now, as I don't have, because none of his readings, which is kind of weird to me, because none of his readings are for self. Like you see in those little white books nowadays. They're readings that could go either way. And he doesn't actually say in the book these can be for either a querent or yourself. He just blasts you with the info, like always. So to make it a little bit more, because like I said, Crowley's take on his own method was pretty complicated for me to understand. So I had decided to use Lon's book, Lon Milo Duquette's book, Understanding the Thoth Tarot. He basically puts the readings in the exact same, like he just puts it in a way that we can all understand. And so I'm using his book as a reference for these readings. And I'm going to read some of them off to you. Now I'm going to read you this last paragraph in Lon's book that talks about this method of divination. Okay? It says, "You will see that Crowley's method of divination is extremely complex and incorporates many of the astrological and Kabbalistic principles I've discussed throughout the book. If you are just beginning your tarot career, you will most likely want to start with the simpler method, such as the 3-card past, present, future spread, or others you can find in other tarot texts." See, even Lon says, just read the tarot any way you feel is not complicated. And he actually does the 3-card past, present, future spread. He made that, or he put that in his own book. That's not in Crowley's book. Crowley doesn't even put a 3-card spread in there. So, now I'm going to read this and we'll see if we can devise anything from it. All right? Choose a card to represent the querent using your knowledge or judgment of his character rather than dwelling on his physical characteristics. Now, for all of us tarot nerds, we know that typically, like with the Rider-Waite deck, when you look at the court cards, you're basically going on appearance when you look at them. So the way Arthur Waite put it in his book is, if you are dark-headed and pale skin, you're this card, right? But Crowley wants us to use the characteristics of the cards themselves, not their physical appearances, okay? And I feel like that's beautiful because there ain't no diversity in the Rider-Waite deck. And what I love about the Thoth deck is these beings, these court cards in his particular deck, have no race. I mean, these are like ethereal beings, and they could represent anyone. And I find that concept beautiful. And I find that you can find yourself in these cards way more than you can find yourself in the Rider deck. And I'm shuffling hardcore so we can really get some stuff going here. I'm going to use her, okay? This is the Princess of Wands. So I'm going to use her as my significator. And then he says, take the cards in your left hand. I'm going to shuffle one more time. Woo. All right. Hold the cards in your left hand. In your right hand, hold the wand over them and say. Okay, here's my wand. It actually blends right into my cloth. So, take the wand over them and say, and you can do this however you want, whatever comes to you, right? Or if you're even going to do it this way, we're just doing this for fun. I invoke thee, IAO, that thou wilt send Heruraha. Okay, HRU in both books means Heruraha, which is the twin version of the god Horus. Okay, think the Lover's card in this deck. He's a twin. And his full twin name is Heruraha. Okay? The great angel that is set over the operations of this secret wisdom, to lay his hand invisibly upon these consecrated cards of art, that thereby we may obtain true knowledge of hidden things, to the glory of thine ineffable name. Amen. Ooh, that's kind of weird. And that kind of fills me with something when he says amen. But we're going there. All right. Now it says, hand the cards to the querent, okay? You hand them to the querent. Bid him think of the question actively and then cut the deck, okay? So he's going to cut the deck. We've got this, okay? And it says, the pack being in front of you, this particular reading shows the situation of the querent at the time that he consults you. So what's our situation, right? It's been cut. We place the top half to the left, and we're going to make 4 stacks, okay? Now we've cut to the left. That represents IHVH, the name of God, right? Now we have to find the significator. So we're going to start here. See if she's in here somewhere. Remember, it's the Princess of Wands. There she is. Okay, so she's in this. If in the hay pack, to love, marriage, or pleasure. Ooh. If in the vow pack, to trouble, loss, and scandal. And if in the hay final pack, to money, goods, and such purely material matters. Okay, so she's in this pack. We're going to set that right there. Tell the querent what he has come for. If wrong, abandon the divination. I think that is hilarious. Abandon the whole thing if that's not what he came in here for. So if we didn't come in here for love, marriage, or pleasure questions, if that's the question. Now remember, when you give the deck to the querent, to cut. He's supposed to really concentrate and put his will and intention and that really manifest that question into the deck. That's the whole point. If right, spread out the pack containing the significator face upwards. Ooh, this is going to be fun. Here, let's move these down here. I imagine this is probably a big ass table somewhere. Like, who has this much room? But we're going to do it. We're just going to do it this way. Right? All right. Count the cards from him in the direction in which he faces. Okay, so she's facing this way. So we're going to count those cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Oh, it should count your card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 7. The count should include the card from which you count. And for knights, we don't have any. This is a prince. That's the only court we have. Okay, so for knights, queens, and princes, count 4. Okay, so that's 7. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 10. For princesses, count 7. For aces, we don't have an ace. For small court cards, count according to the number. These cards, because we're needing way more room here. And we're going to continue to count, okay? I'm going to move this book like this. And we're going to get rid of all these cards. Because apparently they're not part of the reading anymore. So we're going to do this. So we can really see what we've got going here. All right. So we're going to count for the numbers that the number cards are. And then the prince is going to be another number, and then the princess is going to be another number. So let's get on with it. So 2, 4, 9. Sorry. 13. 19. Okay. Move these down here. Move these up here now. Actually. Sorry. I'm going to do it this way. Oh, makes 23. And this princess, which is our significator, makes 30. Okay? Now it says, make a story of these cards. This story is that of the beginning of the affair. So we're going to take 30 and we're not going to do anything with that just yet. Okay? But we're going to make a story out of this. Now usually when we make a story, we just pick out components. But I see a prince and a princess. Okay? Now he's of discs and she's of wands. So I see that fire mixed with earth. Right? So there's going to be a really, I feel like when fire mixes with earth, that can be such a consuming thing. Think forest fire. I feel like this particular love, remember we were in the love and marriage and pleasure. So I feel like the queerness question is about maybe a relationship that they are in or they want, and it just seems to be all consuming right now. And there seems to be a lot of love there. A lot of, I won't say love because I feel like love is a strong word for a reading, because just because you adore someone doesn't necessarily mean you're in love with them. Okay? Now, with there a lot of love there, they're both really juggling some things. Maybe their differences, maybe their work and home life and stuff like that. I feel that's what I kind of feel. That's kind of what I see. Now with this card, and I'm already seeing, like, she's a wand, right? We see the 4 and the 5 of the wands. Now, this card is strife. Now, I'm not really going to go on keywords. That's a whole other video. But I want to say that this card is a mix of contradictions. So, fiery Leo, right? and it's in Give a Ra, being a 5, but it implies motion, and Lon says it offers an environment of strength and activity. But Saturn presents a heavy and constant resistance to all of this. It's hot, pressurized magma struggling to reach the surface of the volcano, but frustrated by the sheer weight of the mountain itself. Wow. So maybe there's a problem, right? They really love each other. There has been some juggling there, but when you put this here, it feels like he or she, they're feeling some kind of pull, right? Some heavy resistance to the relationship that maybe it's the juggling aspect of it. Who knows? Maybe whatever it is they're juggling is just weighing heavy on their mind and it's just like ready to blow. Maybe it's an argument that's coming up. Now I decided to move these up so we can see a little bit better and move these to the side since we haven't gotten there yet. But it seems to be there's a relationship, right? There's a lot of adoration there and a lot of juggling. Because if I think of elements alone, fire consuming earth is a very powerful thing. I feel like this is maybe a powerful dynamic, a powerful relationship. Doesn't necessarily mean love. It just means that they seem to be a good match because they just seem to be a good match, and maybe the relationship is all consuming, but there's a lot of juggling there. And then this strife means that an argument may be coming that is going to, like Crowley says, this is like magma from a volcano. So one of them's ready to blow, maybe with the juggling aspect of it. And then we have the Four of Wands right under them. So if you think maybe after this, reasoning faculty, conclusions drawn from previous knowledge. It's unreadiness, unreliability. It's over anxiety. So if this is over anxiety, which leads to the strife, then the juggling is causing anxiety. The juggling could be causing anxiety. Okay, remember, they have a good relationship going as far as their adoration for one another. But if they're juggling too much, that causes anxiety. That will eventually lead to a volcano-like argument. This card is pleasure. This is like harmony of the natural forces without effort or strain. So I feel like this could be the resolution that, yes, there will be an explosive argument, an explosive strife that goes on, but it's not going to break you up because we still have the Two of Cups to back that up. You still might be juggling, okay? I love that these two are just sitting here. And the anxiety may lead to explosive arguments. Maybe that's your dynamic in a relationship, is that you go through these arguments that seem explosive, but you really have the pleasure is all consuming. Maybe when I think of that, and I think that the basis of your relationship is a really fun love and hate relationship, that really is toxic, to be quite honest with you. If you thrive on the arguing, thrive on the strife, because it puts a lot of passion, she's really passionate, okay? But I feel like, yes, there's pleasure there. Crowley and Lon also say that this card is like, it says, sometimes thankless and presumptuous, sometimes amiable and patient, but in some instances, contention and strife arise, and it could be vanity. So maybe the strife is that she or he is vain, right? They're in the relationship for themselves, right? Self-pleasure. That, oh, I only need you because I want you type of a thing. And that's really a toxic relationship. But if I was reading this for myself, this would be an eye-opening reading. And I really liked how it panned out. Now, when it comes to the reading, okay, we're going to put these cards here. I'm just going to stack those up. Stack these up over here. Because these are all part of the reading. These are one side of her, and these were the other. So we have to continue. Now it says, okay, because I just kind of stacked them up where they lied, or where they lay. Now it says, make another story which should fill in the details omitted in the first. So basically we're using this side now, because she's not facing this way, and see if what she's not facing can be or has been omitted from the reading. Basically, we're going to do the same thing we did with the other side, but this is what she's not focusing on, okay, because she's not facing this direction. So we'll see if that counts as anything. I love this. I love that there's a princess here, Princess of Cups. Now, I love how in the other one we had 2 twos, right? And we had the cups. We had the cups over there, right? So if you think about the cups and the emotion of it, she's really focusing on that. But right, what I see is she's not focusing any on the discs. And that's pretty hardcore, okay? Because when you think the hope and the inner monologue that she needs to be having with herself, that's not even happening, first of all. She's just looking at what is, and she's not looking at what can be, what has been, and she's not looking at any of that. And I feel like all of these really, to me, all of us have all of this in the back of our head. These aren't really things that we concentrate on. Because I feel like with this one, this 5, okay, I feel like maybe it's monetary anxiety. Maybe she's only with him because he's a provider, right? Maybe that's all she really likes about him. Or maybe that's all she really needs him for. Maybe she's not concentrating on how to gain any kind of material perspective on her own using this hermit archetype. She's not doing any of that. And if she did, maybe she'd have more hope, right? Just in this bottom one alone. But then you look at this 6 right here. That's right next to her. Okay? Promises of success fulfilled. Maybe because it's right here, that's all she's thinking about. And she's not thinking about herself. She's thinking about, oh, I'm only showing this passion towards him because he's doing this for me. It's not really a good mindset to have. It says, if ill-dignified, it may be purse-proud, insolent from excess. Right? Maybe she's a gold digger. Are we a gold digger? But I also feel like this cruelty right next to that means that maybe he knows that and maybe he treats her like shit because of it. Remember I said I was already foreseeing that this being a toxic relationship, right? Maybe this is who she used to be. This Princess of Cups here. Now see, with the Princess of Wands, she's all beauty. She's all force, right? There's just so much superficiality with her, I feel like, maybe, in this particular reading. But if you think of what she's not concentrating on, I feel like maybe there's a lot of sweetness, a lot of gentleness and actual kindness, imagination that she used to be. And she's changed. And maybe that's a good or a bad thing, but it doesn't look very good so far. And maybe this is someone in their life. Maybe it's her mother-in-law. Maybe it's her mother, right? Look at all the material cards that we have. Maybe this that she's not concentrating on is that she actually does have a mentor that could really teach her about how to all do this herself, and she's not focusing on it. She's not focusing on the cruelty. She's not focusing on who she used to be. Okay? That's not always a good thing, but it is nice to know where you come from. And it's nice to, if those aspects are aspects of yourself that you really, really like, and you've let them go, then that does need to be somewhere in your brain. But if the material is what she's not concentrating on, I feel like maybe she has someone in her life that can shed some light on all of this, and she doesn't even care. She just is concentrating on the other things that we were talking about. Now, I love this because we got the 3, right? This is the beginning. This is the beginning of matters to be established. This is like building up, creating, realizing material things. So it's like this person could be starting her out on this journey, right? Teaching her things. She needs to concentrate on who she used to be. She needs to actually take a big look at the cruelty wherever it lies. And the money. How to gain. Maybe get a mentor that can help her out with that. Maybe she needs a friend. Maybe she needs a queen of damn dis friend. that is like, look, honey, you don't need him, okay? Yeah, you might love him, and yeah, the arguments might be full of passion, and the makeup sex is great, but you really do need to be a little bit more independent. Right? Maybe she has someone in her life or needs someone in her life like that. And to get these perspectives, once she gains that independence for herself, she'll get that hope, be able to go within, and maybe get back aspects of herself that she really enjoyed. So I feel like this reading was pretty successful. When you look at this left side where she's concentrating on and then what she's not, I felt like I got a really good reading with this, and that was pretty eye-opening when I thought about it. Okay, now we're going to go back to the reading itself because we've already done that. Now it does say, if the story is not quite accurate, do not be discouraged. Perhaps the querent himself does not know everything. That's a profound statement, isn't it? Now it says, development of the question. It says, shuffle, invoke suitably, and let the querent cut as before. Okay, so we're going to shuffle again. Now this says third, fourth, fifth operation, which is the final result. But I don't want to do all of them because then we'd be here for 2 hours. So let's just do the second operation, okay? Now another thing that I wanted to think about that they actually don't say in this book is they wanted you to count the cards, right? Remember we got 30. Numerologically, that's a 3. Okay? Now if you think about 3, that's Banal on the Tree of Life. Well, she's a dark force. That's a dark feminine. That's feminine in her purely exalted form. Now, overall, I feel like 3 is a powerful number. Okay? Think mind, body, spirit, right? Ooh, look at that. I think mind, body, spirit. Also, I think my triple goddess. But it's a lucky number. And I feel like there's a lot of creativity with 3. There's a lot of luck with 3. So maybe for the reading, let's put that layer on there. Because I feel like if we don't, then what was the point of even counting the cards? You know? So it says, invoke suitably. Cut the deck. Okay? Deal the cards into 12 stacks for the 12 astrological houses of heaven. What they tell you to do is start at, so we're making an astrology wheel, and I know all of them aren't like in frame, and it's not a perfect circle, but we're going with it. Now, we start at Aries, okay, or the first house, and we're going to work our way to 12. And we're going to keep putting cards down until there's no more cards. And I've done that, like, off camera, so that we're not just sitting here looking at me doing that. The next step says, and it's so funny, it says, make up your mind in which stack you ought to find the significator. If the question concerns marriage, then it could be in the 7th house, right? Well, our situation was mostly about the dynamic of the relationship, right? So I thought, okay, reading that, I think, okay, well, we'll just go with the 7th house, right? So we count, right? And we look, and she's not in there, okay? Remember, we're looking for the Princess of Wands. She's not in there. Now it says, examine the chosen stack. If the significator is not there, try some cognate house. Now, cognate means the same. So, if that's the marriage, love, relationship, then is there another house that we could potentially look at that could mean the same thing? That's basically what that means. it does say on a second failure, abandon the divination. I just think that that's hilarious because it's like, okay, well, we failed. This isn't working. And I think maybe that could mean our heart's not into it. The querent's really not ready for the answer. There could be so many factors, but it's still hilarious. So when I thought about that, okay, cognate also could mean where the Princess of Wands would naturally end up. Now, astrologically, the princesses have 3 houses, I'll say. And she, Cancer, Virgo, I think Cancer, Leo, and Virgo, right? Because there's a lot of fire with her. So if I thought about it that way, then the middle of those would be the 5th house, which is also, could also be creativity, relationships, romance even. So there's some passion there, which would make a lot of sense. So I thought, okay, let's just look in there. And then if she's not there, then of course we have to abandon what we've done, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5th house is right here. Look at all that red. Oh, look, there she is. Oh my God. Okay. So she's in this stack in Leo, in the 5th house. That's all about creativity, passion, romance, right? So if we thought about that, then it says development of the question. Right. So we've seen her stack. She's in the 5th house, creativity, right? It says read the stack, counting and pairing as before. All right. So we're going to get rid of the other houses. Now look at her, this one stack again. Okay. Look, there's that 2 of Pentacles again, 2 of Discs. Look at all that red. That is just insane. And look at how I don't know, how dynamic this middle looks with all this orange and red on this side. I can really tell that this is a prominent thing we need to be looking at. Now it says to pair as before. Now if we did that, then we're looking at what she's concentrating on. And what she's concentrating on is this and this. Okay, there's a lot of stuff she's not concentrating on. Now, the 3 of Wands in this particular deck is about a sense of settlement. So she may be settling. That could be it. Now, that's Sun, Aries. But this is like established strength. So maybe she has established her own strength in the relationship. But let's look at this. Look at this 10 of Cups, which we usually find to be a really good card, in my opinion. And this is all about, like, I mean, look at all this water coming down. This is all about settling the matter. So if this is settling, and there seems to be some completion there, like stuff she's working through. There seems to be stuff she's working through. She's actively concentrating on that. Maybe what she's concentrating on is this 10 of Cups mentality, right? Maybe she's concentrating and focusing on having this in her life. But then look at what she's not. Again, when I see this, and that's directly behind her, this juggling keeps coming up. And I feel like maybe that's something that needs to be in the forefront, but it's really not in the forefront. It's really in the back of her mind. And she's kind of thinking on it because it's right next to her, so it's probably somewhere close to getting thought about, like manifested about, but like not like the wheel. Way back here in the recesses of her mind. So let's look at this right here and pull that out so you can see it better. This is the 10 of Wands. Now again, like the swords, this is a cruelty card. Okay, malice, like overbearing. So maybe this is something, maybe she's overbearing in the relationship, or maybe he is. Remember we were talking about maybe it's him, but maybe it's her. And this is also like a selfishness card, so it could be like this is pretty much, I call this a 7 deadly sin card, because as much passion as you put forth in cruelty and malice and revenge, it's almost like when they get into those heated arguments, remember back to the beginning, there was an argument going to happen, maybe about this juggling, but maybe she's concentrating too much about herself and not about being a team member, a team player. And that's where the cruelty's coming from, because we really don't know who's being cruel, but whoever is being cruel in the relationship. And it sometimes can be hard to be objective, especially if this is for yourself. Are you being the cruel one in the relationship? And it's really tough to know that about yourself and to acknowledge that. But then we have this Ace of Wands, which is about the potentiality of everything, right? So maybe there is some of this happening, this selfishness, juggling, but you're really doing it for selfish reasons. And when I look at the Ace of Wands there, it's like strength. So see, these two are about strength. And I love that the wands tend to be on both sides. Like she's really actively concentrating and focusing on these, like on this, having that strength and trying to get to this Ten of Cups mindset. But then there's some over here as well. And I love how these they pocket these wands. So the juggling and this Wheel of Fortune over here, they're like encompassing these, almost like that makes these more like stand out more. And I feel like if this is the cruelty and the selfishness, and the Ace of Wands is all about strength, vigor, and this implies like her natural strength, right? Not the strength that's just going to come naturally to her, and how that she's turning all of that into this selfishness because she has all of that. Maybe. Now this could mean good fortune, right? Or discontent, because I feel like you could go either way with the wheel. And if that's the case, then all of this juggling and strength that she seems to possess, this is way back there. It's her free flow. She's not being impartial with herself. She's not allowing her personality to just do this. So she's really putting so much out there in the relationship, and it's really not benefiting her not to have this type of a teamwork, let's work together and let the wheel do this. She's really just focusing really hard on these prominent things right here. But I feel like the stuff that's waiting in the abyss of your brain might be what you don't realize needs to be in the forefront. So I kind of feel like that's where the reading was going, because when we look back, the reading had such a strong start. And I feel like if we wait off now and say, oh, she's just going to get to the Ten of Cups, that's good for her, and then stop, that's not beneficial to the reading. That was step 2. Okay. Now step 3, 4, and the final result are all the same. You basically put the cards back, shuffle, deal into 12 stacks of the zodiac, proceed as before. You're just, what he's trying to get you to do is expand on all of this. Just keep making a story out of the cards. And I've noticed that when I've read further, I've noticed that it just tends to be a lot of zodiacal circles. Pick the stack that she's in, abandon it if you don't find her after the second attempt, stuff like that. And you just count and pair, and then you just keep expanding on the story. And I feel like that takes the reading, yes, into a non-convoluted way, but then again, it's almost like you're giving the querent too much. It's almost like like we've been sitting here for a while. After a couple more times of this, the querent's going to be like, okay, yeah, sure. It just becomes easier to lie to yourself after the cards are telling you, and you just get into that mindset where, oh, I don't really have to think about this. The cards are going to just keep laying out whatever is going on. It just seems to be going into a predictive way instead of this is what you need to concentrate on. Here's what I suggest. Go forth with this knowledge. Okay? That's how I would read. And instead, you just keep building layers and layers and layers and layers until eventually the querent almost, or even yourself, you almost tend to just go, oh yeah, I guess I could see that happening. And then it just builds into, you try really, really hard to find those layers in your own life, even if they're not there. So it's just best to get a good solid foundation in a reading, and then you really need to dive yourself, not have someone else do the diving for you, and not have the cards do the diving for you. I feel like that having this much of a convoluted reading takes away from the job that the querent needs to do himself. So, okay, I hope that this was informative, and I hope it was fun, and let me know if you've tried any of these divination techniques in the back of either one of these two books, and let me know how it worked for you. I really did like the reading, so let me know how you dig all this, and I'll see you in another Thoth Thursday video. Much love, everybody.